right, welcome back. So we need to do a few more small things to the base and then do a couple things to the lid, and we're all ready to go. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a space. First of all, we're gonna fill it out. We're gonna round over some stuff so that when the cord goes through, it doesn't get nicked and worn away all the time. And then we're gonna add a hole in the middle of the base and the lid for magnets. And that's what's gonna snap everything in place and hold it in place. So we've got a little bit of work to do, but we are really close to being done. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna fillet some stuff. Fillet means just like a round over. When we're 3D printing, having something rounded over at the top of a print, not a problem, because that round over is putting plastic on, like getting farther in. Having underneath round over where it's coming out this way, that's where it's problematic, because now it's having to extend plastic out over where there is no plastic already. So when doing these fillets, we can do a fillet at the top, but anything on the bottom like this should really be a chamfer. That way it's sort of an easier angle for the printer to print. All right, so the fillet that we're gonna do is we're gonna round over all of these edges here first. So I'm gonna come around this and just select all of these top edges. There, and then I'm going to come around this side and grab all of these as well. Whoops, turn that one off. Zoom in a little bit. Awesome. So that'll give me my first fillet. I think I'm going to set this one to, let's say, 1 millimeter. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So now as we put it in, it'll have like a little round over to help us get in there better. So 1 millimeter worked great for me. The other thing I want to do is I want to fillet this edge and all of these edges in through here as well. So I'm going to grab a new fillet command. And I'm using a different one because on this one, I'm probably going to have a different amount of filleting. And maybe this edge and that edge as well. See if this works. And then have that one and this one. And let's do this one to say, let's try 1 to start with. 1 is pretty aggressive, but I don't hate it. Like, I don't see any issues with it. So yeah, we use the same amount. So cool. Click OK. Now as I pull that cable through, I'm never worried about it getting kind of rubbed on a sharp edge. It's got all these nice filleted edges to it. Okay, now you want to be careful how little you fillet. If you fillet less than, say, 0.2 or 0.5 even, you're not going to be, the 3D printer won't be able to print it. So it goes up by 0.2 layers, 0.2 millimeter layers. So keep your fillets in that, like that 0.5, half a millimeter to millimeter, 2 millimeter or bigger range. Okay. So that's all the fillets done. Everything looks good. Yep, everything looks great. Well, I'm excited about this. All right, next thing we're gonna do is cut the hole for the magnet. To do that, I'm gonna create a sketch right here on this surface. Stay away from the orange things. So right here on this surface, I'm gonna create a construction line to line everything up with from this corner here to this corner here. And then I'm gonna grab a circle, turn off the construction lines, and find the midpoint of this line, which is that little triangle right there, and then click and set the circle there. The diameter of the magnets we're using are 6.4 millimeters. Hit enter. Now I'm ready to extrude this. So I'm gonna go E for extrude. I'm gonna click on my circle. And this, we're gonna have a magnet. We want them to be directly above and below each other. So 2 magnets, 1 in the lid, 1 in the base. They have to be directly above and below each other to stick well. To make this work, how we're gonna do it is we're gonna do a double extrusion. So instead of one-sided here, we're gonna do 2-sided symmetric. So right here in the symmetric one, boom. And then we're gonna say the distance we're gonna go is the thickness of the magnet, which is about 2.6 millimeters. Now, the reason we did both directions is we're gonna cut the hole in the base with this one. And right now, this is just cutting into air, nothing else. So to get it to cut the lid, what I'm going to do is just turn the lid on, and now it's cutting through the lid as well. So I'm going to say OK. And you can see right away, oh, we cut a hole all the way through the lid, which is kind of problematic, but also kind of good. We know where it is now. So let's turn the lid off real quick, make sure our base is ready to go. And I think it is. Yeah, I think the base is done. Woohoo! So I'm gonna turn the base off and turn the lid on, and let's deal with some problems. Well, obviously we don't want our magnet poking through the other side. So the first thing we're gonna do is create a sketch here on the top surface. And we're gonna just right away extrude this sketch. We're gonna extrude here and this circle. And we're gonna extrude this up, I don't know, maybe 3 millimeters. Now when I did that, notice how the extrusion goes straight up and kind of goofy looking like this. Well, one of the cool things about extrusion is you can actually taper them, meaning angle them in as they go. So over here on the taper angle, I'm gonna say, change it to 45 degrees. Now that made things worse. Now it's all goofy and angling out. But remember, whenever you want something to do the opposite of what it did, it usually means change the number to negative. So negative will be like left instead of right, down instead of up. In this case, it's gonna angle in instead of out. So let's do a negative 45 degrees here and see how that looks. I'm gonna hit it from the front. Yeah, that looks pretty smooth there. I think that was a 45. And I'm gonna hit join and say okay. Now the only problem with doing that is I actually cut the hole for the magnet, I cut it short because it went above the lid. So I need to go figure that out real quick. I'm gonna go test that out and take a look at it and say, I'm gonna use the measure tool. I'm gonna click on this surface out here and then the bottom of the hole down here, and I can see, yep, it's only 2.00 millimeters. I need it to be 2.6 millimeters. Easy thing to fix. So I'm gonna hit close real quick. Close out of that measurement tool, and I'm going to go straight here to, well, let's just create a new sketch right on the bottom here. I'm going to go to extrude right away, click on this center circle, and I'm going to put here, because up is going to be positive, I'm going to say negative 2.6. I'm going to redo that hole right in the exact same place and then click OK. Now my hole is the right depth. I'm just going to check that real quick just to make sure. Click on this surface again and the bottom surface here, and yep, it's telling me right there that it is 2.6 millimeters deep. All right, close the measurement tool out, hit back to the home view. So the magnet hole is cut. One more thing that we want to do is, right now when the lid would sit on there, it would slide sideways. There's nothing kind of grabbing it, holding it in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a little lip around this outside edge that fits around the top lip that we created here, so that it kind of holds it in place and it can't slide sideways. To do that, we've got some interesting work to do. So we're going to first create a sketch right on this bottom face, and I need to capture the geometry from the base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the base on, rotate my thing over so I can see the top of it, turn the lid off, and then I'm going to come up, rotate a little bit higher so I can see a little bit better. I'm going to do a project command, P for project, and I'm going to project this face right here. That'll capture all those red lines on my drawing. So click here and then say OK. Now that I've done that, I can turn the base off and I can turn the lid back on, and I'm going to flip it back over to the bottom view so I can see inside my lid. All right, so now what I want is to raise up a lip around all of this outside stuff. But I don't want to put it perfectly to there because the printer doesn't print the perfect sizes. It's close but not perfect. So I'm going to use an offset tool to move it out a little bit so I don't end up creating something that's too small and won't fit. All right. To do that, I'm going to start by actually closing off this opening here. So right here to here, and then I'm going to come here and grab the offset tool, and I'm going to click here. If you have chain selection clicked on, notice how it goes on the inside here again. I don't want that, so I'm going to make sure that's off. And I'm going to unselect those 35 things. I'm going to click the X here to get rid of all of those, and I'm just going to go around the outside edge. And as I do this, you'll see Fusion guessing whether it should be an inside or outside. Just ignore that for now. And notice I can't select this piece because there's a little piece in between. And then this one, and this one. And now I've got the full circle. Now I want this to be an outside of the, I want it to be on the outside, and I want it to be, so negatives on the outside, and I want it to be, say, negative 0.2 millimeters. So 0.2 millimeters is a really small distance. It's going to be barely too big. And so I'm going to say, okay. And now this is the shape I want to extrude. So I'm going to go E for extrude. I'm going to click on this outside rim here, and I'm going to extrude this up 1 millimeter. Enter. And that's just enough to get down that flat distance that we made on the earbud case. So now the earbud piece will fit right into this little feature, and the magnets will hold them together. It won't be able to slide off.